Welcome back to the second half of NEWSBREAK Live. Joining us tonight is registered dietitian, nutritionist Vandana Sheth. Nice to see you again, Vandana. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks, Hibah.
And today we're talking about such an exciting topic, nutrition. And summer is winding down and many parents are gearing up for the new school year here in Torrance. We're just a week away. But it's also important to start right with healthy eating habits. So Vandana, you work with families right here in Torrance, and one of your focus at your practice is children's nutrition. Tell me how important nutrition is when it comes to school year.
Nutrition is such an important part in helping children grow and develop as they are aging, and especially good nutrition plays a positive impact on how they focus, their concentration, and their success at school. And in fact, back to school can be a perfect time for families to come together and put an action plan so that the whole family can eat right. The key is to make sure that you plan your meals out, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks throughout the day so to have that sustained level of energy.
And when you're talking about planning, it also means prepping meals. What are some tips for families, parents, college students that they could use with the new school year starting?
Meal prep and planning is the key to successful and stress-free nourishment and nutrition. And some key tips could be, number one, start with an action plan. The types of foods you want to include, so whole grains, colorful fruits and vegetables, lean protein. Identify these foods. Second, take stock of what you have in the house and then go out shopping with this list. And finally, of course, if you're planning for kids, make sure you include your children in this decision-making process because they're more likely to enjoy these foods. Some other tips could be that chop and prep your vegetables over the weekend. If you can, Ziploc out things that you need so that it's easy, grab and go. On your pantry shelf, you can have a bin that's got some snacks already prepackaged so your children can just grab and go. In the fridge, you can have a drawer that's filled with ready-to-go fruits and vegetables. So all of these tips can make it easy.
And when it comes to breakfast, you always hear breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This is true, right? I mean, how can parents make sure their kids are not skipping this important meal?
Absolutely true. So breakfast is so important for all of us, but especially for young children, because research has shown that children who skip breakfast especially have a hard time concentrating, have a hard time focusing, have a hard time just performing well at school compared to those who do eat breakfast. In my practice, when I work with families that skip breakfast especially, some of the common reasons are that it's too difficult, they're not hungry, they just don't have the time. So just with a little planning, it doesn't have to be complicated. Breakfast can be a daily habit and in fact one that you can look forward to. So think easy. So a whole grain piece of toast with either a nut butter or a seed butter topped with some fruit. Right there, it's easy, it's portable, you can take it to go. Another easy idea is a smoothie. It's easy, portable. So what you could do is actually pre-package the fruits, vegetables, some yogurt or protein that you want to add in it, put it in a little Ziploc bag or a container in the fridge the night before. So in the morning, all you have to do is just blend that and it takes a minute and you got a beautiful, tasty smoothie breakfast to go.
And it's so simple, and this could be also used for lunch and snacks. So what are some examples for some lunch meals that parents can potentially pack for their children?
Sure, when it comes to lunch, really you want to focus on trying to get at least 3 or more food groups. That way you're guaranteeing balance, variety, and nutrition. So aim for some whole grains, aim for some lean protein, and aim for fruits and vegetables ideally, and then maybe a dairy or dairy alternative. An example could be a sandwich. Start out with whole grain bread, add some meat or cheese, add lots of vegetables, throw in a little side of some baby carrots or celery sticks, have some fruit, maybe grapes or an apple, and either a yogurt or a little carton of milk. Right there, you've got a completely balanced lunch.
And that sounds delicious too. And as far as quality carbs, I know we talked about this. How important is quality carbs to a meal? And what does a balanced meal actually mean? Does that involve certain vitamins?
So when you talk about quality carbs, really we are talking about whole grains. The key is the term whole. When you talk about whole grains, you're actually getting the most bang for your buck when it comes to nutrition. You're getting all the nutrients in this beautiful product. So anytime you're looking at a label, you want to look for the word whole in front of the grain. Not just wheat bread, you want to look for whole wheat. That way you guarantee that whole grain. What happens with whole grain is it actually takes some time for your body to break it down to sugars, so you feel a little bit more sustained level of energy. That's why the emphasis on whole grain. And of course, whole grain typically is also higher in fiber, and fiber also helps with that sustainability.
And what about vitamins?
So when it comes to key nutrients for children, or for anyone for that matter, you really want to focus on carbohydrates because they are your go-to quick level of energy that children need. Again, start off with some whole grains. Protein, you want to include lean proteins, so lean meats, chicken, fish, or even beans, lentils, tofu. These are great sources of protein. You do want to include some heart-healthy fats. Often as a society we tend to shy away from fat, but really heart-healthy fats are really important for children and adults, but aim for either avocados or nuts and seeds depending on your child's food preferences. When it comes to vitamins, minerals, you want to pay attention to calcium because that really is important for healthy bones and structure. And if your child doesn't handle dairy or just doesn't like the taste of dairy, there are dairy alternatives such as a plant-based beverage, but just make sure it's fortified with calcium so that you're getting that nutrient. You want to look for potassium. That's another important ingredient or vitamin for and mineral for growth and development. And
what about, sorry to cut you off, but what about omega-3 fats? Why are these essential? I hear that all the time from doctors, but what is omega-3 and where can people find it?
So omega-3 fats are a type of essential fatty acids, and we usually find that in fatty fish like salmon or tuna. You can also find it in walnuts. You can get it in flax seeds, in chia seeds, in hemp seeds. There are many sources of omega-3 fats. And why this is important is it's actually helpful for brain health, eye health, and even for heart. We have found some studies that have shown that omega-3 fats can help with heart health as well.
And parents don't always have time to cook and make everything at home as much as they would like. What are some packaged maybe food meals or snacks that are healthier? What should we look for when we're looking at the package?
You know, life is stressful enough, so totally understand if you don't have the time to prep and put meals together. But when you are out there, there are some ready portable foods that are naturally packaged. So fruits and vegetables, easy go-to snacks. They're ready to go. If you don't have the time to prep vegetables, you can actually pick chopped, ready-to-go vegetables. Again, easy. Combine that with some hummus or a yogurt dip, and that way you've made it healthy. You could also look at labels when you're shopping for packaged meals. One of the first ingredients you want to look for is if it has whole grain, if it's a grain-rich food, so that you're guaranteeing a little bit more nutrition. Secondly, you want to pay attention to the sugar levels because as a society we tend to enjoy a lot more sugar than we should. The American Heart Association has come out with the recommendation to keep the limit for added sugars in children's diet to about 25 grams. So when you look at labels, look at the ingredient listing and see if sugar is one of the ingredients. Is it in the beginning or is it at the tail end? You want it to be towards the tail end. That way you've lowered it.
And are there certain brands for these snacks that, I know you've mentioned hummus before, but certain chips or snacks that would fit into this sugar limit and everything?
So rather than a particular brand, what you want to look for again is use the nutrition facts label as your guide. And the nutrition facts labels are actually changing. In 2 years we're going to have some new positive changes. Number one is the added sugars are going to be added in there. Right now when you look at a label, it just says the term sugar, and that could include something that's naturally in the food. For example, a yogurt, it has milk sugar that's naturally there, but if they've added sugar, that's going to be a separate line item, so that's going to help parents. So really use the nutrition facts label, look at the ingredient listing, see if you can identify those ingredients and if they're healthy. That should be your cue. And eatright.org is a website that has some great information as well for families. And a registered dietitian nutritionist, of course, can personally guide you through this process as well.
And grocery shopping, buying all these items can get expensive. So for larger families, who may be under a budget, how can they grocery shop in a healthy way?
Eating healthy does not have to break your bank. It doesn't have to break your budget for the month or for the week. It really is possible to eat healthy and still be cost effective. So number one, you want to have that plan of action as to what your menus are so that you can shop appropriately. Pick foods that are in season. They're usually lower in price than things that are not in season. Use your pantry foods. Use your frozen foods. So you can have frozen vegetables. You can have canned beans, canned tuna, canned salmon. Right there you've cut back on the cost, but you've amped up the nutrition flavor, use spices and herbs. Those would be easy ways of cutting some costs. And of course, finally, when you plan your meals out, you've portioned it out, you're going to have less wastage as a family. So right there, you've cut some costs as well.
So how do you know how much to buy of maybe protein? You just should make a list. Is that the best way to go about it?
Usually start with a list. Start with what is your weekly menu. So if you're planning some chicken dishes for the week, map out how many times you're planning to serve chicken, and you can you can buy that, cook it, so you can have grilled chicken one day, you can chop it up and add it to a soup or stew another day, and you can use that same chicken a third time, either in a salad or in quesadillas. Right there, you've had the same protein, but you've stretched it out into 3 meals.
And also make sure when you have your food in the refrigerator or freezer that's labeled correctly. There's no expiration date, or there is an expiration date, but keep an eye on it, correct?
Absolutely. Food safety is so important. We didn't touch on that before, so I'm glad you brought that up, because just like, having things labeled at home, especially when you send your children with food to school, it's really important that you have food containers, you have insulated bags, you have either a frozen ice pack, or maybe you could freeze your water bottle that you're going to send for them. That way, by the time it defrosts, it's kept everything at the right temperature. You don't want your kids getting sick.
And speaking of water, hydration. I know people don't drink enough water, but water is the best liquid for children to drink, especially when you're at school. Or what other recommendations do you have? I know juices have high sugars in it.
Right. I think water is honestly the best choice for hydration. You can find a lot of products in the market, especially marketed to young athletes, sports drinks. Really, most kids don't need those added nutrients in there. It's best to drink water unless your child is in a very, very physically active team sport. Then potentially on a very hot day, they might benefit from the added potassium and sodium electrolytes. But most kids, really, water is your best option. To make it more fun and flavorful, you could add different fruits or different herbs in there to make water tasty. So you can allow your child to add berries into water and make it pretty looking. They could add lemon or lime or oranges in there, and that makes it look citrusy and pretty. So really you can play around with it, and if they don't like the taste of regular water, they could have sparkling water. So it has a little carbonation, a little zip, that might help with the hydration as well.
And we've talked about so many great tips on how to get the school year started. Are there some top tips that you really are emphasizing for any of our viewers that are going to walk away tonight with? I mean, is there anything in particular?
Well, really, it's important to eat right, not just for your child, but for the whole family. So if you can set yourself up for success, it would be that have an action plan. Just like you shop for all the classroom supplies, have some supplies at home ready to go so that it's stress-free, it's calm. Plan out your meals the night before school starts. Have your cereal bowl, have the containers and spoons set up on the table. So in the morning, all you have to do is pour that whole grain cereal and a cup of milk or milk alternative, have some fruit. Stock up, have an action plan, and enjoy the special time when your family, your child is going to have a very successful school year. A registered dietitian can help.
Well, Vandana, your tips were so great. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's always great seeing you.
Thank you so much.
And again, Vandana Sheth is a registered dietitian here in the city of Torrance. And if you would like to make an appointment or ask Vandana any health questions, you can follow her on Twitter and Facebook at Vandana Sheth RD. Also, you can visit vandanasheth.com to get all your nutrition tips. Well, that does it for tonight's NewsBreak Live. We always welcome your feedback. So if you have news or even video that you'd like to share, please email us at newsbreak@torranceca.gov. And for Facebook and Twitter users, use #NewsBreakLive. Have a great night.